Hi, everybody. This is Carol Gordon. I'm the project manager for the BNC CataList project at BookNet. So thanks for joining us today. We're going to look at some of the essential tools that are in CataList for sales reps. So these are some of the things that some of the national accounts may be requesting that you send them, or just things that you may want to have access to, just tools in your arsenal for managing catalogs, managing if you've got extensive lists or you're selling from multiple publishers, some of the things that can help make things a little easier for you. So we're going to look at a couple of things, and at the end, we're going to record this. We are going to, we'll put in some timestamps for each of the different specific things that we're talking about if you want to come back and just re-watch a certain section, or if you just want to jump ahead, so look for that in the comments. But we are going to look at the new search tool that we just rolled out for CataList. So there's some things that are going to make it a lot easier to find your way around, find the things you need in CataList. So look at that first off. And then we're going to look at how to create some custom catalogs. So this is one of the things that for sure we know national accounts are asking for, but there are some things that may be useful for you if you're selling to specific accounts like gift accounts or that type of thing as well. We're going to talk about notes tools. It's a great communication tool, a way to tie some of the comments that you might have, you might want to mention, you might be mentioning on a phone call, or if you're missing your face-to-face meetings, that's another way to just kind of make sure that your content, the things that you want to tell buyers about, get into the catalogs. And then we're going to talk about comparable titles and how that ties into our sales data product, and why that's important for some of the retailers who are also participating in CataList, and why they might want you to be adding comp titles. So we're going to start, as I've said, with the search tools, and then using the new search features. And we're actually going to do a lot of this by demo. So we're going to live demo a lot of this webinar. So I'm going to actually switch over to CataList. And I'm logged into like a test account for retailers, but we are looking, or for publishers, but we are looking at live data here. So we'll be able to use some real titles and play around with it a little bit. So the first thing that you're going to notice on the new search feature is that you can search for more than books. So our previous search was always for books, but you now have the ability to search for books, to search for catalogs, and to search for a list of ISBNs. So that's super useful for you guys to just find what you need, and also for your retailers and your libraries to find exactly what they're looking for. So for example, if we look up the word tundra, I'm just going to leave it at books for now. We will get a list, and you can see on the left it's already starting to populate in all of the refine elements that you can refine your list by. And so when your list comes back, you're actually going to see that we're going to be seeing some titles that are postponed indefinitely. By default, you're seeing the newest titles first, and we show everything in the system. So if you want to just look at, for example, just the active titles, you can just open up your publishing status, limit to active titles, and now you're seeing only titles that are available currently. You can add forthcoming in there if you want as well, but that will not include things that are postponed indefinitely or canceled, which is a useful tool. The other thing, and I can close this up, I can see by the check mark that I still have something selected there. I can clear all my filters if I want, but I can close that up and explore the other filters. What we're getting here, of course, is a lot of tundra books, not books about tundra. So if you want to, limit by subject, if you want to, just include your juvenile titles, you can drill down further into the juvenile options. So let's choose juvenile fiction and nonfiction. So now we're looking at 650 of those 940 some titles from the list. A couple of cool things that you can use here is to look at the contributor location. So this is where you're going to find your Canadian authors. If you've got, we're starting to pull in from Onyx 3.0. and also region codes from ONIX 2.1 data. If you have more than just Canada in your contributors, we actually can pull that back and you can drill down below Canada into provinces, and ultimately we'll be able to do that down to city level when we have more complete data in ONIX 3.0. So we're really excited about this, and you can find that in the contributor location. Geographical region, we're using the BISAC region codes and FEMA geographical qualifiers to find these geographical regions. I think actually if I clear out subject, I actually am getting a few more. So there's some adult titles that were not included in the juvenile subjects, which have a little bit more detail here in the region. And also in the contributor location, we actually do have one here that's an Alberta author, so I can actually limit right down and find Alberta authors. So really excited about getting more data for this from the publishers, and this is going to be a super useful thing for you guys to find your own titles that you are interested in, representing to local bookstores. So really excited about that feature. Format, of course, is available. These are all multi-select. You can keep adding or removing. You can remove all using the clear within a box to clear just that box, or you can clear all filters at the top. So it's very flexible that way. Language is another option you now have to filter your results list. So we do have some French titles in there. So if you want to just see the French titles, you can do that. And then the last one here is actually pretty useful, especially if you are selling only part of a list, or if you're selling multiple publishers that are listed across the site, is cataloged by. So there's two options here. The Canadian distributor is going to be more useful, I think, for the retailers where they're looking to place an order and they want it all. They want to see titles at all one distributor. They can use that distributor option. But the catalog by is which company is actually posting it on CataList. So that tends to be more in like the sales representation or publisher house. So for example, if you're at Simon & Schuster, you can just look at the Simon & Schuster titles to get that list. What's really powerful about this is if you have set favorites, and I will show you how to set your favorites, you can actually return all of the matches that are just from your favorite publishers. So in this case, if you have set favorites, which are the publishers that you sell, if you're selling a number of lists, set them all into your favorites, and you can reduce your list or filter your search results list based on those favorite settings. Same thing if you are working in one of the very large houses and you're not selling the whole list, you can set just your imprints that you represent. And I will maybe just jump over in a minute and show you how to set those favorites. So that is a super, super useful thing. The last one that I wanted to call out is content available. So if there are excerpts, if there are teacher's guides, if there are, I'm actually going to clear all the filters so we can see more options. If there's samples, TOC, interior images, you can actually filter those lists to say, I only want to see the ones that have excerpts, or I only want to see the ones that have teacher's guides, because maybe you want to promote those to like educational stores or the stores that have a large presence with the teacher market. And you want to promote those ones. So that's a really useful tool as well. And we think that that's something that the retailers and the libraries are going to love, having that filter option available. Before we go and look at favorites, I just want to point out one other quick thing. So if you actually intended, when we searched Tundra, to look up Tundra Books catalogs, you can actually just use the Find Matches in Catalogs instead of retyping it and reselecting the options. All right, and so here we've got our Tundra Books catalogs. So most of them are a little bit older because they tend to be cataloged, not necessarily under Tundra, but you can also look at see some of these are custom catalogs that have been shared to everyone and that are posted there on the Penguin Random House page. Cataloged by, so we actually have one that's a Lone Stars, and the status. So we've got some that are currently published and several that are in the archive. If you want to search for different catalogs, it's very easy. So if you want to look at, say Fall 2020 catalogs, we can look at Fall 2020 catalogs. And when we get those back, we actually have the option here again in the cataloged by to use our favorite publishers. So that's a super cool tool. If I go and view this catalog, even better, and then I come back to my browse, whenever I'm coming back to my search, it's going to remember what I was searching for, my search terms, and what I had selected in the refine tool. So that happens whether you're in catalogs or whether you're in books. So you're not losing your search. It doesn't have to rerun your search each time. So that's a pretty useful tool as well. The last part is ISBN list. So you can put in up to 1,000 ISBNs. I have a little handy ISBN list here. Oh, that last one. So when I look for an ISBN list, I will automatically get back the list that I looked for in the order that I provided the list. So you'll get your count so you'll get the count of everything that matched, that had a match in CataList, and you'll get them in the order. So if you wanted to change that order, you can still do that. You can do by published date, newest to oldest, or whatever you want to do. You can, I think these actually are in order by published date, so I didn't change anything. There we go. So I've changed my title, A to Z. And then I can restore my default order, which is my list order. So you have that option as well. From search, you can then export in your export format. You can also add to catalog. So we're going to talk about add to catalog here and the individual add to catalogs when we look at catalog creation, which we're going to do in one moment. We are just going to take 1 second to go back and look at favorites. So from the home page, if you want to set your favorites, there's a favorite publisher tab. So usually by default, everyone sees all publishers. This test account has no catalog, so we have no drop-ins. No content on the test on the publisher page. Normally you can see if you're representing a single publisher, you can see your own titles here. And favorite publishers, you can set favorites. If you haven't set any favorites yet, you'll see nothing below. It'll just say you haven't set any favorites, set your favorites now. And when you set your favorites, it gives you the full list of all of the publishers that are participating in CataList, and you can simply check off the ones that you want to add. If you have publishers that publish under number of imprints, you can actually select just the imprints you want. So whether you want to focus on the kids list or whatever it is you want to do, you can do only imprints, a mix of imprints and publishers, and then save your changes. And once you've done that, you have your favorites are set. You can update that at any time. If new publishers come on that you sell, you can add them to your favorites list, and then you can use that favorites for those filters in the search. So that's kind of a favorite tip if you've got kind of an extensive list of publishers to manage. So let's look at creating catalogs. So all of the catalogs that you see listed generally on the site, in the new catalogs, or if you're looking at one of the publishers pages, are your seasonal catalogs. And if you are a sales rep in a smaller press and you have you're working with Indigo, Costco, the big national accounts, you're just selling, you're just representing your titles across the market, you're welcome to just work with these catalogs directly. If it's a manageable number and you are comfortable with just everything being in the catalog and you don't have to worry about anything else, then great. Then by all means, custom catalogs are not required. If you have, though, national accounts that are asking you to send custom catalogs just for the specific buyers who are buying, if you are selling an extensive list to smaller accounts and you just want to focus the list for your own use or for the use of your accounts, you can also customize. There's a couple ways that you can build those custom catalogs. So I'm going to start out just by going to my page. Now in this account, as I said, we don't have any seasonal catalogs to start with. I'm just going to be acting as though I'm representing a bunch of publishers that where I have to go out and find their catalogs and put together my own catalogs that I can work with, that I want to use to sell to accounts. So in catalog creation, the new custom catalog button is one way to launch it, especially if I already have a list of ISBNs. This is really one of the easiest ways to do this. So I can give my catalog a name. We're just using llamas because best llama books for stores. If I am a publisher that has catalogs already posted, so I don't need to go out and make lists, I can actually start a custom catalog from the list of catalogs that would appear in this box. So I don't have them in this one. We're gonna use the type in, copy and paste method. But you can actually no, I want this one. I needed the notes one for later, but you can actually just grab your list of ISBNs, paste it in the type in, enter in box, and that will pull the data in to a single catalog for your use here. You've got some optional things. If you're planning to print this out using the PDF tools, you might want to add a custom cover image. It's totally optional. You can get your image details there. Front matter and end pages. These are pages that go at the beginning of your catalog. They'll be included in your PDFs if you export the catalog. If you're not exporting, it's not a big deal. You can also see them. They can be accessed when you're looking at catalogs online. So front matter might be if you're doing a catalog, for example, that is a promotion and you want to include the promotion details, and then the list of titles that is the body of the catalog that are part of the promotion. You can do that type of thing. End pages, if your company has standard end pages preloaded, come to next week's webinar if you want to get all the details on how to do adding standard end pages and personalizing and customizing the PDF exports and templates. But there is an option where you can put your company can upload a standard form that you can, or standard like sales contact list or that type of thing. So I can just use my standard company one. Or I can put a custom end page, whether that's, again, if you want your contact information there or that type of thing, you can do that. So I will leave that. I'll put the company standard end pages. So it's going to tell me, confirm these items for my books. Everything looks good. We've got one that's not in CataList, so we've got an error there, but that's okay. We'll just go with whatever is available. The next step is recipients. So you have the option here about who you want to share this catalog with, if you want to share it to anyone at all. So if I choose to make this catalog accessible to everyone, anyone who has the link to the catalog will be able to view it. whether they are logged in or not. So this is a useful thing if you just want to send out sort of a link to the catalog with a mailing that's going to all your accounts. You don't need to specify exactly who has access to it. Anyone that just clicks the link is going to be able to get it. The specific recipient, if you are building a custom catalog for a specific buyer and you only want that buyer to have access to it, you can do some things in here like suggesting buy quantities and that type of thing. So if you want to do that, you can add them, add specific recipients. So most retailers who are requesting these catalogs will be opted into the directory. So if you start typing in, so here I've got one, Lucy Maud in the test library. There we go, in a test bookstore. So you can have multiple. You can also build lists. We're going to talk about that in next week's advanced session. But you can say, I only want these specific people to have access to this catalog. So when I click next, it's going to put my catalog together for me, and it'll appear in my custom catalog. So here's my catalog. My status is draft. That means I'm still working on it. I haven't published it. I haven't sent it to anybody. So my recipients can't see it yet. But we will have the opportunity to share it to them when I'm done working with it. So I can just go and view that and look at that catalog. So here's all my wonderful Llama books that I'm going to share. Here I can see I've got front and end matter pages. So I've got the end matter page there, so I can look at it when I'm looking at the catalog. And when I have recipients, when I publish this catalog, my recipients will be able to see that as well. They'll be able to get all of that information in the default PDF exports when we put that all together. And you'll also be able to edit that. So you can make changes to this. You can make changes anytime. So edit your information. If you want to change your title, you want to add more books to it, you want to take away or add cover images, front matter, you can do this even after the catalog has been published. Although if you send it to recipients and they've already done their buy, you may prefer to actually, or they may prefer that you send them a new catalog rather than adding to the existing one. The organized tools, you can sort by fields, you can multi-sort, you can set a first sort and then a second. You can move titles up and down just by dragging and dropping. You can see which ones you've moved. You can send this one to the end. You can remove titles. So that one's marked for removal. I can, if I didn't mean to remove it, I can restore it. And I can save those changes. If you want to change your recipients, you want to add someone to the recipients, you want to do something different, you absolutely can do that as well. And then when your catalog is ready, you can actually publish and send. So when I publish it, you can send an email notification to those recipients that you've sent it to them. I'm going to say do not send. We don't need to actually send them out because my recipients are test users, so they're not going to get anything anyways. But if you want to do that, you can send out those emails automatically. So that is the basic walkthrough workflow for creating a custom catalog. There are some other ways, though, to do the custom catalog. So one of the primary way is to actually use that Add to Catalog button. So let's look for something a little there. Let's go to Annick again. So if I was looking through the Annick Press catalog and I just decided I wanted to add something to a catalog, I can use the Add to Catalog button. It pretty much appears on every title. So if you're in a sales account and you're going through reviewing titles and catalogs, as you're going through, you can simply just add to catalog. You can add it to an existing catalog or you can create a new one. So if I create a new one, it's going to not have any of the extra stuff that we added going through the main workflow. So if I want to go back afterwards, I'll see it here in my page. I'll need to actually use, in this one, the edit features to be able to add things like front or end matter, a custom cover image if I want to change that title, if I want to set my recipients. I'll need to actually do that in the edit tools, but I can create new custom catalogs directly from any title when I'm looking at it. That Add to Catalog button appears just about everywhere. The other thing, if I'm looking at search results, I can use the Add to Catalog button here. When my search results return, I can filter down my refine tools. So let's just say I only want forthcoming titles and audience. Let's just say I only want the Canadian authors. So now I have 2 titles, and I can add those to catalog, and I can again add them to an existing catalog, or I can add them to a new catalog. So lots of different ways to create your custom catalogs and set your recipients and share those. The next thing you might want to do is you might want to be adding some notes. Let's actually get a title. So notes is similar in the way that we handle the recipients. So there are two kinds of notes. I can leave a note for my own reference. So if I'm going to save that. So I'm just leaving a note for myself. So when I'm looking at this, if I'm doing, if I've got custom catalog or whether I'm looking at it in a seasonal catalog, this note will always be tied to the title. So whether I find it in search and view it there, or whether I'm looking at a custom catalog or a seasonal catalog, I'm always going to be able to see these notes. The same with if I share notes to recipients. So I can add multiple notes, multiple private notes, multiple shared notes. So I can share that one. And there. I can share to other people in my own account as well. So if you have, you have one person who's got a list of notes and they want to just share it, they can actually, if you've got one person who's kind of entering notes from sales conference, they can share them to everyone in your company. Or if you want to split up who's taking the notes. There are other ways. I will show you in a moment how to upload a notes file. So if you've got your notes that you want to add in, either for your own reference or ones to share, you can upload them directly through the UI. So we'll walk through that process in a bit. If I want to edit this note, I absolutely can edit this note. I can edit it here, save. That'll automatically just update whenever this bookseller comes in to the system. She will always see the note that you've added and the date that it was added. If you want to add another recipient to that, you can. If you have a lot of people that you're regularly sharing to, you have groups of people, either they're all similar or you just want to have one list that has everybody you want to share to. There is actually a distribution list manager. We're going to talk about that in next week's session as well. So you can look at the advanced tools to find out about building contacts and contact lists. So it's another useful tool for you. Let me just have a quick look if there's anything else that I want to talk about notes. And I did. One thing that I wanted to talk about in notes, I'm going to go into my page here, and we're going to look again at this catalog. So You can go through title by title and do it on the main title page, but I'm actually going to look at the scroll view for a moment because it's you can actually manage your notes here, which lets you just scroll down through the list and keep adding notes or managing your notes in one place. When you're in a custom catalog, as I mentioned, you can add suggested orders. So anyone that is seeing the titles, will see that in the custom catalog, will see the suggested order quantities that you put in. So a little different from notes, because notes you're going to see it's tied to the title, and they will see the notes that you've sent wherever they're looking at it. The suggested order quantities are specifically tied to the catalog. So if they want to, if you have accounts who want to see suggested order quantities, they will need to be looking at that in the custom catalog. But what I wanted to show was adding notes in a custom catalog, because there's a tool that it can be pretty useful. So note for buyer. And I'm going to share that. And if I don't set things up in advance, I actually will have to like look them up and add them each time. But there is, no, we don't want to save that. We'll save that one. But when I'm in a custom catalog and I go into edit recipients, there is an option here to suggest those recipients on new shared notes. So I've already set here my recipients for this custom catalog. I have a bookseller and a librarian, and I'm going to ask the system to suggest those recipients on the new shared notes. So when I look at my shared notes, and I want to let's add to the second title another note and share, it's automatically going to populate them for me. So I can just hit share again, and it's all good. So here I'm just seeing that it's already shared to these two users. So if I hover over it, I can just double check that it's shared to both of them. If I add another recipient on this catalog later on, it's not going to update the notes that are existing. So the best process, if you're planning to do shared notes and shared custom catalogs, is to create the custom catalog first, set all the recipients, turn on that share suggestion, so that every time you just add a note, you can just automatically hit the share. So if I wanted to do this one, because this note is not new, it's not automatically adding the second suggestion. So you can delete, and I could delete and redo this note. Copy that. We'll delete it. Add a new one. Post my note back in there and share. And then both will pop up. So a little bit tricky because you do have to get the order of events right. You need to add your recipients first, check off the box, and then you can go ahead and add any notes. If you have added notes, didn't tag the buyer, and you want to, there's ways you can do that. You could actually export this to an Excel file, include the notes in the export. Well, just in the settings, you can if it's not set up for your account to export notes, get in touch with us. We can help you get your notes out, and you can actually import them back into the system and tag users. So if you have a list of notes, all we need is an ISBN and the note content, and you can just upload it directly. So I upload a notes file. If you want details and sample files you can look at, we have those online in the help documentation. But really, as I say, it's an Excel file with ISBN in one column and the notes in a second column. Browse for a file, notes upload demo. So I selected my Excel file. If I leave share the notes with recipients unchecked, it's just going to load those as notes for me. So that's fine. Maybe that's all I want. I just want to be able to have my notes in the system so that if I'm presenting from the system, they're just my triggers for memory, things that I wanted to mention in my sales pitch. If it is something that you want to share, whether that's sharing with people in your own company, whether that's sharing, so there's with someone within my own company. If it's external, whatever you want to do, again, you can add a contact list. You can add your single contacts. You can just look up your buyers. A lot of the Canadian buyers are already just listed in the system. You can just add them directly. When you've got everyone in there, you can upload the file. Notes were added to 7. And it will tell you if there's any errors in loading those files. So I can download a report, and it will tell me that the note was added for all of these here, but that there was no title record for this ISBN. So you can actually get a report that will tell you which ISBNs did not get notes loaded and why. So sometimes if you're loading from another system, there may be things that are NCR titles, or who knows what you've got. Maybe you've got a typo in there. So you have a way of checking what's happening with those titles. So I can close that. And now when I look at my Best Llama books, let's see. Yeah, so here I can actually see. Here's the note that I just uploaded and shared to Ruby Gillis. And here's my original note that was loaded earlier. So you're always seeing the newest notes first on these pages. It's the same that the retailers will see. They will see the newest notes first. So let us know how that goes. We're always interested in how things are running with the note sharing and catalog sharing. But it is a good way to, you can send somebody a custom catalog. If you're missing the ability to have, direct conversations, face-to-face meetings, or you're doing things by phone more often now, it's a way to just, be able to walk through a catalog step by step without, having to jump between a lot of different catalogs if you're selling a number of lists, or being able to put things in the order that you want, the titles you want to focus on first. And you can add notes on those titles so that when your buyers are looking, they have a little bit of extra context. If it is something that you want kind of everyone to have, consider actually loading that as using the key selling points. So maybe talk to the people who are managing building your catalogs, the seasonal catalogs in CataList for your company, and see if there's an opportunity to add things in key selling points, because that's available to all retailers, libraries, sales reps, for example. So it's another tool that's available to you that's kind of broader than the notes functionality. Notes is a little bit more specific, individual to you, and the specific people that you're sharing with. Last thing that I wanted to cover off is the comparable titles. So we'll have a look at that. So comparable titles ties into sales data. So most of you are going to be familiar with sales data. We is a sister product in the suite of BookNet products where we collect sales from the point of sale systems. Retailers send us that data, we collate it, put it all together, and aggregate it for publishers to have access to, and sales agents and the retailers, of course, themselves. And so what comparable titles allows you to do is, when you're looking at a title, it gives a sense of what similar products are out there, similar target market, similar sales projection. And when we have the sales data figures that are pulled in on these titles, it can give a picture or sense to the buyer of how you're expecting a new title will perform, what target market it's going to, and that type of thing. It's a little bit of context for their purchase decisions. So whether you have access to sales data or not, all reps have the ability to add additional comp titles to their titles that they sell. So there may be comparable titles already on for new forthcoming titles. We do pick them up automatically from similar product from the similar product type in related products in the Onyx data. So there may be some there already, but perhaps when you're selling, there's something that is specific to the Canadian market, something specific that your buyers are going to identify with when they look at this title. So when you're looking at those titles in the detail page, there's an option to add comparable titles. And so these are we call rep comps. If you click on the Add Comparable Title button, it's going to just pop up and ask you for the ISBN that you want to add. Why do we need the ISBN? ISBN is the very specific format. It's not just the book; it is the book and the format and everything. And it's the most detailed version, and that we do need that in order to pull sales data across. So if you just drop in your ISBN, and often what we'll find is if you have access to sales data, people will just have both CataList and sales data open. They'll be browsing around on sales data, looking at sales history and trying to get a sense of what's the best comps that they can add to CataList titles. So just easy to pick up and drop in the comparable ISBN. And then when that's added, if you are looking at it, you're actually going to see this little X button because maybe there's a typo in that ISBN. Maybe it's not the book that you wanted. You can just click the X to make it go away. In this example here, I'm not showing the sales data. This is a publicly accessible webinar. So normally, though, when you're looking at this data, you have access to sales data. You'll be seeing on the right-hand side the sales performance in the first 8 weeks, the first 13 weeks, and the lifetime total. And you can also pull down one market at a time if you want to add a market to the whole lifetime numbers. So you'd be able to actually see the context of how these, the range of these comps is looking. The star option, if you just click on the star, you can click it and unclick it. This is like set at the title level, so if someone else chooses, it comes around behind you and you've got multiple people selling the title, you kind of need to have some agreement about what the best comp is. So maybe set one person to be the deal breaker on who gets to set the starred comp. But the starred comp, you can actually say out of some of the titles will have 6 or 8 comparables. So it helps the retailers to understand at a glance that, oh, here's the one that the rep thinks is actually the best comp for the Canadian market. And so it's just a simple click and unclick. When the retailers are looking, they have the ability to set their own best comp. So down on the left-hand side, they can actually set their own best comp. You say, yeah, for our market, actually, for our particular location or for what we sell, we think this comp is better. So that when they're looking at it, that's what they're going to see first, is their best comp first. But they actually will see, instead of that little X where you can remove your title, they're actually going to see that this was added by a rep. So it differentiates the rep-added titles from the ones that just came out of the Onyx data, and who really knows who set those. They probably came from the marketing department somewhere, but maybe the US or maybe here, or maybe it's an algorithm that's generated by the Onyx record. So they can actually see that a little bit of thought was put into that. And if they hover over the little person symbol, you can see who's added that. So is it your rep? Is it a rep for a different territory? That type of thing. So it's a pretty useful tool. It really is useful for the retailers, especially those ones that participate in sales data. So if you have the ability to add some comp titles and they aren't in your Onyx data by default, it's a pretty easy thing to add if you've got the time to do it. or if you have publishers who are looking for it. And so that is sort of the tour of the basic tools that we have available for reps selling into accounts. So I hope that there's some new or useful things that you found here. If you have questions for us, we're always happy to take them, to walk you through, the minutiae of some of these things if you want to get into a little more detail, or come back next week for the advanced session where we're going to talk about the PDF custom templates. We're going to talk about contact lists. We'll actually talk about how you can take orders for accounts, which is, you can actually take an order and export it out, send it over to your customer service or upload it into your own system. So some useful tools there. So we hope you join us for that, and have a lovely afternoon. Thank you.